Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is an anime miniseries released last week on Netflix with Ben David Grabinski reimagining Brian Lee O'Malley's graphic novels and the subsequent 2010 movie released on them. The show brings back all of the core cast from the movie, which is absolutely amazing and has aged like fine wine. You've got the likes of Michael Cera, Brie Larson, Chris Evans, Aubrey Plaza, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Kieran Culkin, Jason Schwartzman, and Anna Kendrick, to name but a few. It's an incredible cast that, like I said, has aged like fine wine, and even more incredible that they were all able and willing to follow up, which kind of speaks to the passion that they have for this story and project. The movie's director, Edgar Wright, also signs on as a producer to complete the connection, though Abel Gongora directs the animated series. The first episode is pretty much a beat for beat of the opening of the movie reenacted. Michael Cera Scott is a man-child trying to make it with his band, who may or may not suck, living in the same bed as his gay best friend, played by Kieran Culkin, dating a 17-year-old schoolgirl, Knives Chow. He begins dreaming about Ramona, who he eventually meets and shares a magical first date in the snow with, only to realize that to pursue this romance, he'll need to defeat the League of her 7 evil exes. Despite the similarities to the first episode, I still would recommend a rewatch of the first movie if you haven't seen it in a while, or if it isn't burned into your memory, just so you're kind of aware of the references and the characters involved, because the show does a lot to kind of mess with them, but it will also throw back quite regularly to the movie itself. However, the first episode ends with quite a pronounced twist that sparks off an alternate reimagination of the story, with an almost Stranger Things bent and a who did it, crucially not who done it, mystery element of it too. The alternate story is quite fun and gives us a chance to spend more time with great characters and actors that were underserved by the movie, like Chris Evans Lucas and Aubrey Plaza's Julie. Whereas the initial movie was great crack, ultimately it was more a vehicle at the time for me, for Michael Cera, coming off the heels of Superbad, trying to give him a role where he was kind of the leading guy and seeing if he could carry it, which ironically he wasn't able to. The original movie has gained a lot of cult following in the years, but it's important to remember that it actually bombed in the cinema. There were parts of the original that felt a bit disjointed or rushed in a rewatch. Even like, why is he so good at fighting off the evil exes, where nothing about his character to that point suggested as much? And that's where the anime really comes into its own, as the genre just kind of blows past these questions, and it can do so by being so busy and engaging. There's a kind of dreamscape quality in a lot of the musical sections, for example, of which there are many, obviously with a band so central to it. And by the way, the soundtrack is absolutely banging, with video game alumni Anna Managuchi composing a fun and light score, and some absolutely spot on commercial throwback needle drops. Ultranate as well, I've been listening to all week, one of the songs that are in there, and it's just making me laugh every time I hear the few bars because of what this show did with it. The fights are almost kind of Mortal Kombat-like in style, with occasional shades of Pokemon there too. And while there are constant visual gags and Easter eggs on the screen, like a movie that's based on Scott's life being directed by Edgar Wrong, or a scan of Wallace's apartment to show Scott is essentially just squatting and he's just like living there unwelcome and doesn't own anything of value in there. I love to really get in deep and talk about the plot itself, but if I was to say anything from here, and I recommend you avoid like any kind of previews or anything like that which might spoil it, it would spoil it, because again, the twist is so kind of different and shocking that you're just sitting there like, what the fuck? And it just keeps you watching. I'll watch this in 2 goes. It was brilliant. This is an extremely fun show, though. At times it can feel a bit wild for the sake of it, especially in the earlier episodes, as it kind of rejigs the format from what we're used to, and just a bit of fun fluff. But by the end, it kind of emerges into a sweet little story about healing and confronting your past traumas, to hit in the way the movie just didn't have time for. I really love more projects like this, giving us alternate takes in different genres of stories that we love and formats and so on. But for now, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is a huge win for me. All episodes are out on Netflix. And again, this is another win for Netflix. They're having a big week. So well done. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Check it out.